All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I have a number of items to cover with you this morning, so we'll just get started. First off, on our police department, given the recent charges against Officer Hayes, Chief Lansdowne has proposed engaging an outside agency to conduct an independent audit to assess how the department handles misconduct and related police practices. I have directed our city staff to begin the information gathering phase and evaluate various options and costs associated with the competitive process. An audit would likely take 6 months to a year and a half to complete. Once its final recommendation from city staff is prepared, the city will present that recommendation to the city council for its consideration. This audit will be thorough, it'll be substantial, and it'll be transparent. This, of course, will come at some cost. No matter the cost, there is no price too high to pay to ensure the public's trust of our police department. We have an excellent police force comprised of over 1,700 dedicated, hardworking men and women who care deeply about our city. And I want to reinforce that point. We may have a few bad apples, but we have a department of good, dedicated public servants who are out there protecting our neighborhoods every single day, and we can't lose sight of that bigger picture. That said, we cannot have one single officer who misuses the power given to him or her when they took the oath to serve. Their behavior cannot in any way disparage the uniform or the department that they represent, and that's why we're taking this matter incredibly seriously. I also want to make very clear that I have complete confidence in Chief Bill Lansdowne and the leadership of the department with respect to this matter, and I believe that with his help, we will make sure that this matter is thoroughly addressed very quickly. And transition to a couple more other items. I'll be happy to take your questions. With regard to purchasing and contracting, I think some of you know that as the Budget Committee Chair over a year ago, I identified concerns I had with the Purchasing and Contracting Department. We, about a year ago, hired a new Purchasing and Contracting Director named Dennis Kakunga, who is doing incredible work. And now I'm very excited to announce a proposal that will not only speed up the city's business when it comes to getting work done, but it will also ensure that we're getting more for our limited taxpayer dollars. We have some proposed revisions to our municipal code on the table, and it'll be before the Budget and Government Efficiency Committee next Wednesday relative to our city's Purchasing and Contracting Department that will ensure a more efficient process when ordering products or services, getting approval, and completion of those jobs. Purchasing and contracting is a humongous part of our city's operations. There are more than 9,000 requisitions and over 350 solicitations annually from companies who want to do work with our city. Currently, a single request can take up to 2 months to process, 2 months to purchase a very simple product, and that's not timely, and it's certainly not efficient. The changes that we're proposing would take that timeline down to about a week, and make our process far more efficient, much more customer service oriented, and I think ultimately better for local and small businesses who may want to do business with the city. These changes will also make the department much more transparent. We're proposing that the department will develop monthly reports to closely monitor its progress when it comes to reducing wait times, and that those progress reports will be posted quarterly on the city's website. These adjustments will also create a more smoother and efficient flow of resources to the problems that need to be fixed and reduce delays and red tape for what needs to be completed. Essentially, if we have a problem out in the community and we need something purchased to fix it, this will allow us to fix those problems faster. Again, as I mentioned, this will be before the Council's Budget Committee on Wednesday. If they approve, these modifications should be in place by the middle of this year or in the early fall. And the end result will be a much more efficient, transparent organization that spends taxpayer money much more wisely. About 2 or 3 more items, and then we'll take your questions. I'm sure you are well aware that Jeff Graham, the president of Civic San Diego, announced his resignation yesterday. Jeff has done a tremendous job leading Civic San Diego through a very difficult time. I definitely appreciate and value his judgment and his skill. He has been an asset to our city, and I wish him great success in his new endeavors in the private sector. Civic San Diego will continue to be an important resource for revitalizing our city's neighborhoods, and I've spoken with Mayor-elect Faulkner. He shares this point of view, and I will work closely with him to make sure that a replacement for Mr. Graham is selected and keep his high level of service going at Civic San Diego. So stay tuned for that. On a final or happy note, I'm happy to report that when I became mayor, one of the problems that needed immediate attention was the scores of vacancies on cities' numerous boards and commissions. At the time I took over, we had roughly 200 vacancies across dozens of boards. The practical effect was that many of those boards were not able to actually meet and conduct the public's business. I'm proud to announce, with about a week left to go in my time here, that we have, with the help of our city council colleagues and Molly Chase, who is our director of boards and commissions, have made over 169 appointments in the past 5 months. I believe the previous administration did roughly 8 or 9 in their longer time in office. Some of those appointments were made to the Consolidated Plan Advisory Board, the Convention Center Corporation, the Housing Commission, the Parks and Recreation Board, the Commission for Arts and Culture. The list goes on and on. The good news is for Mayor-elect Faulkner is that when he assumes office next month, he will have a list of boards and commissions that are fully staffed, up to date, and running, and able to carry out his policy vision for our city. I think that's real progress and proof that the city is back on track. Lastly, the mid-year budget report. I think some of you have been waiting for that information. That report will be released tomorrow. All I can say at this point is that it is good news and worthy of your attention tomorrow when it's published. The mid-year budget report is expected to be heard by the Budget Committee on February 26th. In short, we'll have to figure out a way to make sure we maintain fiscal discipline while addressing urgent needs in our neighborhoods. I think the proposal that we'll put forward tomorrow will do exactly that. So with those comments, I'm happy to take questions on anything you like. Yes.
We are live in 15 minutes. So
okay. I'll be quick.
If you could bear with me.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned you have complete confidence in Chief Lansdowne. Do you think this focus and scrutiny on him is warranted right now? And how would you like to see this investigation proceed?
Well, I support his call for an independent outside audit. I think that we do have to get some outside eyes to come in and make sure that we're doing everything right. I think that we do more things right than we may do wrong, but obviously these handful of bad apples are showing that we may be able to do something better. With regard to confidence in Chief Lansdowne, I work with him every day. He is someone who's had a long career in public law enforcement, and I think that we can rely on his experience to help fix any problems that there may be. Obviously some of that will fall to the next mayor, but the chief definitely enjoys the support and confidence of this mayor.
Great. Sorry, really quickly, what kind of expense is the city facing now that we have to double up on officers every time we transport a woman?
I don't know the direct answer to that, but I think that's a wise step to take, given the current situation that we find ourselves in. The city takes these kinds of allegations incredibly seriously. That's why I think you saw swift action when it came to Officer Hayes. Certainly the full disclosure and transparency last night of the additional officer that we became aware of. And so whatever expense it is, again, I don't think there's a cost that's too high to pay to make sure that we have the public's trust.
Great. And very last question for you. 2 Albertsons closing in the county. Obviously, the community of City Heights really hurting today.
That's right.
Are there any talks about bringing another big chain into that community?
There are. I've been working closely with Councilmember Marty Emerald, who represents the City Heights community, also speaking with some of our grocery stores and with the local United Food and Commercial Workers to find a positive solution. We cannot have food deserts, particularly in our urban neighborhoods where there are lack of options. There are some great neighborhood markets in those communities, and I'd hope that those folks would step up. I understand some of them are in the meantime, but a large vacancy like the Albertsons in City Heights is unacceptable. The city's made massive investments in that community to try and revitalize it, and we need to have someone come in and help. I'm hopeful that we can find someone working with labor, with the corporate sector to get something good there. And I'll tell you, Marty Emerald has been working aggressively on this, and I suspect she'll find some success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gene?
Is any thought being given to bringing in an outside monitor for the police department, as a number of large urban cities have done, to run the department and make changes on the fly?
I don't believe it will have to come to that. I think that because we're being proactive, because we are welcoming outside scrutiny, and because we're willing to take this so seriously, we don't need to have outside. Now, some of that may be outside of our hands, but I don't think it's going to come to that. What we have at this point are 3 to 4 officers over the last 3 or so years that have had these kinds of allegations. We're going to address them aggressively, and I don't think it will come to that.
So what do you want to tell the public then that sees lights behind him and is scared to pull over, especially if you're a single woman?
Yeah. Well, I definitely echo the comments of our police chief that if anyone has had an experience, they need to come forward and let us know. That is exactly what happened in Officer Hayes' case, where we were informed of some behavior in December. That officer was put on paid leave come January, and as of yesterday, he's no longer a part of the San Diego Police Department. So I think that people know that when we're made aware of this, we take it seriously and act aggressively. With regard to whether or not folks can trust people, again, I'd put it into some context. We have over 1,700 police officers who wear our uniform, who are out there working every single day, and they are upholding the honor of our department. Like with any organization, we may have some bad apples here or there, and again, when they're brought to our attention, we take care of them aggressively.
Are you hearing from counterparts in other cities, other public officials about San Diego from an image point of view? I mean, considering the departure of the prior mayor under circumstances involving sexual misconduct allegations. What's the aftermarket that you're hearing out there?
I hear more about Mayor Filner than I do about our police officers. I gave a talk this morning to a group of out-of-towners, the Chamber of Commerce kind of speech. That was the focus, not the focus, but that came up, not our officers. And I think, again, that's really a reflection of the fact that we have a very large department that does a great job of making us one of the safest big cities in the country. So I think, I don't think there's a correlation in people's minds about that.
But there could be a downside financial risk to the Treasury in the event that civil judgments, settlements, et cetera, ensue from that.
Correct. That's been in the past, obviously with Officer Revelos. We paid a pretty significant price because of his, bad behavior, and that may be going forward. But much like what you saw with our aggressive actions with regard to our previous mayor, our aggressive actions on these most recent cases show that we take this seriously, and that I think that will help us to make clear to any potential victims that are out there that they can come forward with confidence, that their allegations will be taken seriously, and that we will work to make sure that we take anything that went wrong and make it right as quickly as we can.
So again, this is just a few bad apples, is that the thing?
Well, I don't have evidence that shows anything other than that. You have Officer Hayes, who's currently facing charges, or former Officer Hayes, I should say, facing charges. We have the individual we identified to the public yesterday, and that's 2 officers out of, I believe today's head count is 1,725, I believe. Again, I can't. I want my police officers out there to know their mayor stands behind them. And if they are following the law and doing their jobs well, as most of them do, they will have our support. If they are breaking the law, then we will actively and aggressively take action to get them out of the field and have them leave the department, which is what you saw with Officer Hayes.
So this is not like a systemic or cultural problem?
We don't have evidence to show that, but that's a part of what the audit would help us to do, is that while I may see it that way, we are inviting an outside review of this, and it will be one that is aggressive, that is substantial, and that is transparent. And if that report and that review comes back and says that we do have problems, then we'll treat them and we'll fix them.
Do we know who's going to be doing that?
That's a part of what we're looking at right now. It has to be independent. There are, I think, there aren't a great deal of choices that are experts in this realm that can do this work and do it competently. So we want to make sure that we get the very best. Again, there's no price that's too high to pay to enjoy the public's trust. But we are currently looking at what our options are, and then we'll bring the best option forward to the City Council for their consideration.
So the timeline on this, could be 3-4 months before the audit actually starts?
It's my hope that it wouldn't take that long. Again, because there are limited options. I mean, there's not a great deal of folks who do this kind of work. So I would hope that we can work more quickly than that. Certainly Mayor-elect Faulkner has also been active and involved in this, and I think he's given every indication that he's taking this very seriously and will move swiftly. The timeline for the audit itself, though, I'm told would take 6 to 18 months. And again, that depends on, I think, what people find and what we need to identify as remedies, if there are any that are found. But we're not prejudging this process. We want to really invite that outside scrutiny to make sure that if there is anything going wrong here, that we identify it and that we fix it swiftly.
Does that timeline include the recommendations being made, going to management, having it accepted and implemented, and then the council and all that sort of stuff?
That's exactly right, yes.
Is the audit going to be to the 1852 officers, or how's it going to be?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
The audit
Yes.
is gonna be conducted to all the officers in the police, only management?
The audit will be department-wide, and I think the chief rightly has said, he's open to looking at every part of the department. So we're not narrowing this just to internal affairs or officer misconduct or racial profiling, but that we will look at everything. And that's a part of, again, the scope of work that we're looking at now and who can competently and adequately take on that kind of work. But this will be very broad-ranging because, again, we want to make sure that we're very clear with the public about what's going on here. And if there is an area that we haven't considered but that may have a problem, I want to know about it. And so that's what a broad, comprehensive look at this will give us.
I think Carlos's question, and this is the concern we're hearing from the public as well, is that what the chief is proposing is sort of a look at all their practices and policies and procedures. It's not going through the personnel records of every officer, really looking to see who's out there and who's had what kind of complaints. And so, and I think that's really what the public wants, is somebody to go and really look at who the officers are, not just at, how does a complaint handled when it gets to an internal affair.
Right, but I hear what you're saying, and I don't necessarily know that that's off the table with regard to this. And again, I think we're very open to what is recommended as being best practices and what will actually address the concerns that are out there. I certainly wouldn't take that off the table, what you just described. Importantly, I think a part of what this could yield is what is the best practice for looking at individual officers. What patterns do you need to seek out or need to be observed? What are the kinds of checks that need to be done to make sure that when there is a bad apple that's out there, that they're caught early on, like with Officer Hayes, or are they caught long after, like Officer Revelos? I think we've already put in systems and changes that have caused that incremental improvement from Revelos to Hayes, but what can we do to make sure that that is a part of our department culture, and that is maybe not just a one-time thing, but that to the extent that it happens anywhere else, that it's caught immediately, for the reasons I think Gene was getting to about the costs that are involved, et cetera. But I want to be really clear, I don't think that's off the table. If anything, we're trying to cast a very wide net to make sure that if there's anything that can be done better in our department, that we identify it and then we bring it forward and we implement it.
Children's pool comes up Monday to council.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's being considered?
Sure, I can try. Monday's going to be, next week, between children's pool and medical marijuana, we're going to have, just bring your sleeping bag to the council chambers. What we're discussing is to have seal-only access at the children's pool during pupping season. That is something that the council has generally been supportive of in recent years, and so this would be a step. This would be the step that actually would allow that to happen if the council approves it. Again, judging on past comments of council members and previous votes, I suspect that's what the council will choose to do. But as always, when it comes to this very hot topic, I expect it'll be a very lively council meeting. Both sides will probably be there in force. We'll certainly listen to them, so I don't want to prejudge any decisions, but we'll hear that out, and that's basically the proposal, is to have seal only during pupping season.
So that would leave us with the rope up this as a discouragement during the rest of the year, and no people allowed down there at all during pupping season. Is that right?
I believe that is the case. I have not read my council docket yet. I've read the docket because I created it, but I haven't read the backup yet. That's my Sundays. That's how exciting my life is. That I think is the gist of it. But we'll have the staff report out. Well, it went out yesterday, I believe. But I that's essentially, I think, what we're moving toward. Others. Well, as always, appreciate your time and interest. We'll be here next week for the Swan Song, so we'll see you then. Thank you, guys.